Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Johnson.
And I'm Heather Terry.
And for any of y'all who don't know, we are a podcast.
That is so neat. Tell me more.
When you did that, I lost where I was, and I was like, I don't know what we are or what we do. No, this is our power hour of true crime, where we talk about fucked up people doing fucked up shit, usually for fucked up reasons or sometimes for no reasons at all.
That's right. And today's our first episode.
Apparently.
I love that you always kick your bottom leg out.
I do a lot of things,
you know? Whenever you do it, you're like, me.
Well, I'm excited. I'm an excited goat.
Yeah, your leg got a boner. Excited goat.
I don't know. I feel like goats are like, roar.
Oh, the pygmies?
Yeah.
God, I want one. I do.
Yeah?
Yeah. Speaking of animals.
I was like...
So we have to say, we record these a little bit early.
I was like, are we staring at the camera today?
Yes, we are. I'm going to talk
I was like,
I'm talking to all the
fans.
fans. Yes, I'm going to. No. It's Jess's birthday.
Producer
Jess's birthday.
Yay. Happy birthday, Jess.
Yes.
Woo! You're so young and vibrant.
I know. Fuck off.
No, fucking nice.
Yes, we
Enjoy
love
the
her.
years while they last. That fresh-faced.
The youth.
Yeah.
She's a youth. She's one of our favorite youth. She's our pod mom, even though...
I like how you say that. Everyone's going to think she's like 17. She's in her 30s.
Well, I turned 40 this year, so it feels like she's 17.
I get that.
To me.
I get that.
Yeah, I get that.
What?
Yes, but we're very excited that she's a part of the squad.
I'm happy to be celebrating a birthday with you this year.
That's right. So much fun. Oh, she did this.
That's how you know you're youthful.
That's...
No, wait. That's the youth shit.
What is it now?
You can tell your age by if you do your heart like this. Is it these two? Nope.
Like this?
Where did my thumbs go?
Remember when people used to just... Let's go back to the day where... Well, how do you do this?
Oh my God. Why do we have to make shit hard?
Because this, when you look like this, you make everything hard.
Heard. It's beautiful.
No, remember whenever they would do blood with their fingers? That's how you could tell you're our
gosh.
age. Do you know how to do that, Jess? Okay, well, anyway, I'm just going to pretend like she said no.
Oh, man.
Happy birthday to her. Very excited. I also have to say, whenever I went to procure the birthday balloon, there was a very chatty lady working the cash register up to the Dollar Tree. I mean, Kirkland's, because it was very expensive.
Right.
And
Kirkland's
the
only
line
balloons.
was like 20 people deep. This chick just wanted to be my friend. I was like, oh, well, we'll chat. They're not going to be mad at me. They're going to be mad at you.
Right.
So she goes, are you loving this weather? And I go, oh, I am. It's so nice out. And she goes, yeah, I was so excited. I finally got to take my hamster out for a walk. And I was like, what?
Who doesn't let their hamster crawl in the yard?
And I go, I know you're busy, but I have like 8 questions, but I'm going to stick to one. How? I just pictured a little leash.
Just let him out.
No, that's what I thought. I was like, what? No, she puts it in a ball and she just walks down the street. I want to go for a walk with this lady and her hamster in a ball.
Yeah, but how does she just walk?
It rolls in the little hamster ball.
Right.
But and she walks with it.
She can't.
And then if it starts to veer, she just kind of moves him over.
That's weird.
And his name, I forget his name. But anyway, that was... I had to tell you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For telling me that.
You're welcome.
I'm happy to have known that.
I was very happy
People
too.
are weird, man. They were doing weird shit.
I know. But
I'll leave you with this. With my teabag information. Love is the ultimate law of life. Let's just enjoy that.
Thank you for telling me that.
You are welcome. You're welcome.
Are you ready for me to tell you some other shit?
Dude, I'm so fucking ready for a story. I'm ready to be entertained.
I will dance for the men.
If you can throw some entertainment in this sadness, I look forward to it.
I will do what I can. So in honor of Jess's birthday, Brooklyn came up with the idea to try to find a Jess story about someone named Jess. I could only find victims.
Me too.
And
that was the one. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. When you were looking, there was only one Jess murder that I could find, and a lot of Jesses have been murdered.
Yeah. So it's a common name. I get it. But the one that you sent, I was like.
To go by Jess, though, I don't feel like it.
Right.
Jess is my first Jizz. Other than that, I just know a lot of Jessicas. Right? But only one jizz?
Right? Jizz.
Jizz?
So I went a different route. This is a story about a dancer. Oh, she's a dancer. So I'm going to tell you the story of Meghan Landowski today. Does that name ring any bells?
They never do.
Okay. I just have to
And then halfway through, I'm like, yes.
Jizz. So my sources today, cbsnews.com. I didn't put my glasses on. I was like, why am I struggling?
I wonder that all the time.
And they're dirty, but we're going to roll with it. Okay. CBS News, WTKR.com, 13newsnow.com, Oxygen.com. And then there's a ton of this from Dateline, season 27, my boyfriend Keith Morrison, episode 32 called The Call. So here we go. Meghan Landowski was a 16-year-old in Portsmouth, Virginia. She lived with her mom, Angela, and Chris, who was her stepdad. She had one brother and one sister. Now, Meghan and Chris had a great step relationship. Like, she called him dad, so they were super close. And everyone loved Meghan. She was popular. She had tons of friends. She was always laughing and joking and, like, doing the things she loves the most, which was dance. I'm going to show you a photo of her. So here you go.
What kind of dance do we know?
I will tell you in a second.
Stripper?
She did all of them. She was not a stripper.
Okay.
She was a ballerina.
She looks like a ballerina.
Look how cute.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
She 100. I would cast her as a ballerina in a movie.
Right. And like I said, it was hard for me to find a picture of Jess, or a picture of Jess, a story that was about Jess. But this is the picture that is our favorite, and I'm going to show it. So she has to put it on the video. This is Jess's.
You are forcing her to put it.
Jess has to do her job and show the photo. This is her album drops next Friday.
Right? Yes.
So I really put show tap photo in my notes. That's why I told her not to look what
Perfection,
you printed.
man.
Okay, anyway, back to Meghan. Just had to make sure that I did that. You're welcome. Happy birthday. Okay. Like, I think that we all would have liked hanging out with Meghan. She sounds really awesome, like always happy, bubbly, and joking. She was an amazing ballet dancer. And on the show, one of her classmates said, because, you know, dancers have to stand like on the balls of their feet.
I'm so amazed you called her a ballet dancer. Not a ballerina.
Ballet dancer.
I was like, I don't think I've ever heard ballet dancer versus a ballerina.
Yeah, I'm here to mix it up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, ballet dancer. So, she, you know how ballerinas always have to stand on the balls of their on the balls of their feet. So they're
on the tips of their toes, or the balls of their feet.
Yes. So one of her classmates said that she would always be like, "Oh, my balls hurt." Like, she was funny.
Oh, I was like, do they? Okay.
Because they did dance classes, but so she would always be like, "Oh, my balls hurt," and her teacher was like,
I bet they
stop?"
fucking did.
And laughed. So they all joked and said, "My balls hurt."
Was it really the balls of their feet? Or was it their?
It looks
a
like
part of it, and then they no balls.
Just said nope, balls.
Got it, man.
Yeah, when they're on point is when
it?
they go like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm a ballerina too now, so
a ballet dancer.
So they always made the joke. She was fun as shit.
Yeah,
that's basically what I'm getting at. She also talked all the time, and her parents were on there, and they bet her money. They were like, "We're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and you cannot talk." And she always lost. So you and I can definitely relate. Okay, so it's April 10th, 2008 in Portsmouth, Virginia. Random facts: this town has about 96,000 people. It's not huge, but it's not a 2-stoplight town.
Yeah.
Meghan got out of school early at noon that day. And she went home, and her parents were working, and her siblings were at school.
Sorry, how old is she?
She, at this time, is 16.
Okay.
Yeah. At 5 p.m., her stepdad, Chris, he comes home from work. He walks in. He finds Meghan. She has no pants on. She's covered in blood, and the throat had been slit.
How the fuck?
Right. Like, devastating.
Yeah.
He called the police, and I listened to the 911 call.
I can only imagine. Oh my gosh.
And he was saying his daughter, he was like, freaking out, screaming, "My daughter looks like she's been sexually assaulted. She's bleeding to death. Can you hurry up?" During the call, like, that's what he was saying. So Sergeant McDaniel rushed to the scene, and when he got there, he realized that he knew Meghan and her whole family. So put a pin there and I'll tell you why later. Like that has to, they're kind of sadly probably desensitized to seeing crime scenes, but when you go in and you know the victim, like it has to be worse, I would imagine. Anyway, poor Meghan had been raped. Her throat had been slit, like I said, and she was stabbed 43 times.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Apparently the attack started in her bedroom where everything was covered in blood, and they found her underwear there as well and a roll of duct tape. They could tell that she was able to get away from her attacker and make it downstairs to the kitchen, but sadly the attacker grabbed a knife out of the butcher block.
So they attacked her with something in her house?
In her room, yeah, they attacked her with a knife in her room, and then she made it down to the kitchen and they grabbed another one.
They grabbed a different
So
knife.
there was two different knives.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so they were like, you're not going to get away from me, which it's sad because she was probably stabbed a shit ton of times and raped and all that in the bedroom.
Oh, it's terrible.
This is all awful. So they even were able to tell that the attacker stabbed her 7 times after she was deceased. So she
was dead whenever the dad got home, even though he thought she was alive.
He said she's bleeding to death, but yeah, she was. They saw bloody shoe prints walking out the front door, and keep in mind, this was between noon and sometime before 5 p.m. So daylight.
Fucking insane.
Right. And there was a ton of other evidence at the scene and DNA as well. And I'll get back to that. And I'm doing it a little different today, and you'll see why at the end, like the way that I usually tell my stories. So Meghan's freshman year of high school, she was about 14 at this time. She got into a prestigious art program for her dancing. And halfway through that year at that fancy school, she became really withdrawn. And like I said, she's outgoing. She became withdrawn. Her grades started slipping. She seemed depressed a lot. And her friends and family were like, what's going on? Like, this is not you at all. It was like night and day. Her parents were like, all right, after a while, like, it's got to be that school. You must not be happy there. So we're going to send you back to public school instead of going to the other one. That actually made her happy because she had missed her friends a little bit, and she got to join the dance team at her old school. A few weeks back there, though, nothing got better, and she started hanging out with a little bit more of a rugged crowd at public school. Her parents, Chris and Angela, her parents, Chris and Angela, seemed like very caring parents, and they were like, look, maybe it's dance, you're too busy. Like, that's a tough age anyway. So
why didn't they just ask her?
They tried and she wouldn't open up.
I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah. So they were like, let's try to, you need to get your grades back up. Let's take a break on dance. You need to focus on your grades. Nothing seemed to work though. She wouldn't tell them anything. And then she just kept progressively getting worse. They decided to drug test her, and they found out that she had tried marijuana. And like owned up to it. She was like, I tried it. I won't do it again, whatever.
They just happened to drug test her in the 30 days that she had had weed.
Yeah.
Interesting timing.
Right. And they started fighting all the time. Finally, her dad was like, look, and he had never came at her. They tried every parenting thing, but then he was like, all right, look, you've got to tell me right now what the hell is going on. Or, quote, your butt will be blistered. Like, that's what he said. Her parents are so cute. They were on the show, but like she was like, fuck. Okay. Cause she was like, now he means business. He's being serious. So compared to the weed and some bad grades, that seems nothing compared to what she said. She had to look at her stepdad, Chris, in the eye and tell him that his best friend, Rob Hickey, had been molesting her since she was 14.
Yeah, it feels very much like there was
his best friend in the world.
Molesting of some sort.
His best friend. And like, let me tell you about this shitbag. So Rob Hickey was married with 4 daughters of his own, and he was a health specialist for the Navy who was on track to become a Navy captain. So like I said, best friend, they were together all the time. Instead of driving over there and knocking his teeth through his butthole, like I would have done, Chris keeps his cool. He's pissed, obviously, but he's like, all right. So he grabs Meghan.
I'd call the cops.
He grabs Meghan and calls her mom, and then they go to the police station.
Good.
Right away.
Fuck yeah. That's what I would do.
They were like,
dude, make you a child. There's nothing worse than being a registered sex offender.
Right.
There's nothing worse.
4 daughters.
Me hitting you in the face and then me getting charged for it. Fuck that.
Right.
I'm going to 100% make sure that you're on a fucking list.
It'd be real hard to not want to do that though. Like just your best friend out of nowhere for years. And then you're like, what the fuck did you do to my kid? Like, I can't imagine. And remember when I said that the sergeant who responded to the crime scene knew her? It's because the sweet baby angel, Sergeant McDaniel, was the one who took her report for this abuse. So at first, 16-year-old Meghan was super uncomfortable when she went in there to the police station. And he was like, look, this isn't your fault. Don't be embarrassed. You're not going to say anything I've never heard before. And then she feels comfortable.
Dude, back at 16, I couldn't even talk about my period.
Right?
Let alone like
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's into a guy and like your dad's there. Yeah. So Meghan opens up though, and she says that this creep Rob started paying extra attention to her after she turned 14. He would tell her how beautiful she was. He would like pull her aside and have long conversations and kind of testing the waters, like how far he could go with her. And at first, any 14-year-old would kind of be intrigued by like so much adult attention. Like,
anytime somebody wants to ask you questions and get to know you, you feel special.
Right. But I couldn't find how old he was, but I'm assuming he was about 42 at this time. But this is also like textbook groomer behavior. And a few months later, he kissed her. When she turned 15, things crossed over into sexual stuff. Do you want to know why he waited? Because in the state of Virginia, it's against the law for an adult to have sex with someone who is 14 or under. That's a felony, but 15 is just a misdemeanor.
Do we know that?
Yes.
Okay. No, I mean, do we know that he waited for that reason, or that's just how long it took to progress?
He waited. He waited. It was intentional. It was like a few days after her birthday. Like, ugh. And the sergeant tell her parents this. He's like, look, I can pursue this, but he's going to get basically a slap on the wrist if I pursue this. And he would let them like make the decision. And then they're like, what can we even do? Because that only would come with maximum a year in jail. So basically a few months. Like if they went this way. But he had an idea. Sergeant McDaniel's the shit. So Rob Hickey was in the Navy. So he's like, let's let the NCIS go after him because they have way more severe punishments for this type of shit.
Oh, I bet.
So he's like,
I've seen NCIS. They are held to higher standards.
Right? And once Meghan gave her statement to the NCIS detective, she knew that he would be punished and get like years in jail instead of just going for a couple months and get out.
Yeah.
She started getting back to her old self again after he was being investigated. But of course, she was still paranoid because the investigation was open, but he was still out. So I don't fucking blame her to be like, I'm happy because I'm not getting molested anymore, but he might fucking come after me.
Right. So when was he having sex with, like, that's what I'm having a hard time understanding that portion of it. Mm-hmm. So he is just like at their house without his friend there. Is he just like, they're all hanging out and he just walks away with the daughter for an hour? Like, I'm not understanding how that part happened.
I couldn't find anything about how it did, but I know that he would separate her. So if it's her dad's best friend for years, he might be like, oh, I'll pick her up from here. Or I'll go do this. Or I'm going to run over.
That's still awkward. That's still not normal or acceptable.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like my dad had a lot of great friends.
Right.
And none of them would have picked me up from anywhere.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
They would have never just... there just weren't opportunities for it. So I guess I'm having a hard time like comprehending that.
Right. Or maybe because he had 4 daughters, maybe he was like, oh, I have the girls. I'll swing by and get her. We'll go get ice cream. Well, maybe his kids were. I don't know. You know,
I just don't see how you could like hide it still.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, I don't know. Math ain't mathin' for me. Though it doesn't mean that like obviously that should happen. I'm just trying to wrap my head around like how.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
So Meghan even asked Sergeant McDaniel, she's like, is Rob going to come back to kill me? Because he hasn't been formally charged yet. And she was still scared shitless, of course. So cut to not too long after this, and Meghan sadly ended up murdered.
Right.
Rob Hickey was obviously, he shot to the top of the suspect list because unfortunately, he has the right to efface his accuser. And his accuser was Meghan, and she's no longer alive. So they had to drop that whole case. Like NCIS couldn't pursue it because there's a right to face your accuser. And his accuser, like the rape part. Yeah. And this fuels Sergeant McDaniel because he's like, fuck, I already couldn't charge him here. I had to hand it to them. And now he killed this poor girl that he already, like, you know.
So they're automatically assuming he did it?
Yeah. They're like, fuck.
So they're not looking at anyone else?
not right. He's the top.
Okay.
He's at the top. And his team, like him and his team, they're like, fuck you. We're going to get you because you're not getting away. Meghan's dad, Chris, is like, well, those bloody shoe prints you found look like Rob's gym shoes. And obviously they were going to bring his ass in anyway for questioning.
I'm just like, how does he know that?
I don't.
He's like, those bloody footprints, that looks like the bottom of Heather's black Nikes.
Yeah, they were specific shoes in the shoe print. Like when I thought the same thing, and I'm
like, how the fuck would you know that?
Yeah,
you wear those boots all the time, and I wouldn't be like, those look like Heather's boot footprint.
That's true.
It's just, I'm like, what the fuck?
I get it. And
sneakers of all things. Sorry, I understand boots because they all do have like a really obvious design on the back or on the bottom.
Yeah.
And yeah, if there was a murder scene and those boots had walked through it, I'd be like, fuck, Heather did this. But as for like the sneakers, no. I don't know what the fucking bottom of Jess's sneakers look like right now, but I know the sneakers she's wearing. Right. I don't know. I just can't help but be like, what?
Yeah. When they go to Rob's house, he wasn't there, but then he pulls up shortly after in the van with his wife and 4 daughters. And they draw their weapons at him. And they were like, get on the ground. Meghan was murdered. You have to come with us. His poor family were victims in all this too, but like they didn't know the molestation was happening. Now they're seeing their dad
So he never
arrested
touched his daughters or anything?
At gunpoint, there wasn't any indication of that at all. Rob fell to the ground in his driveway, hysterically crying, and they took him away. Now, I watched his questioning, and he has the ick. Like, even if I knew he wasn't a child rapist, like, I'm going to show you a photo of him. He just, like, look at him.
It's like,
I know.
It's like
the photo
this big,
is small.
and it's like all the way back here.
You can
I don't see shit.
But like, and he
oh my God.
He
totally reminds me of someone that I cannot say on this podcast.
Oh yeah. He looks bizarro.
I don't know. He just looks like a.
And then hearing him talk and his voice is weird. Like, it's just weird. Yeah. He was like, look, I have witnesses who were with me all day yesterday, because this was the day after she was murdered. So he's like, I was with people all day. So I have an alibi. He said that he was at work and then he went to marriage counseling.
For having sex with underage girls.
I know, but it should have been. And blah, blah. Like he was saying he had an alibi. And they just leave the room because they're like, all right, hang on, let's check all your shit out. And then they show the clip of him and he starts sitting here. And he's praying, and he has this girly little weird voice, and he's like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It's so weird.
I am so grossed out.
I know. It's so weird. And he's like crying, and he's like singing, and he's looking up, and no one's in there. Like, bizarre.
Ew.
That's why I said he has the ick anyway. Like,
all right, well, I don't see the ick.
Oh.
But I haven't heard him talk. I don't know shit about fuck. But you saying that, now I have the ick from the way he looked. Because before he just looked like someone I would have a meeting with or something. Now I'm like, gross.
Right.
Wonderboy Media is not only the proud producer of this glorious magic imploring your ear holes right now, but they're also a big deal.
Get in touch with them today to make all of your dreams a freaking reality.
From using their bangin' ass podcast studio,
where we are right now,
to creating amazing videos and editing our content like the mystical mavericks they are.
Your podcast can go further when you have a Wonder Boy.
Hit up Drew today at WBOYmedia.com.
Or text him day or night at 270.
Just kidding.
Get ready, outdoor enthusiasts. The Western Kentucky Outdoor Expo is coming to Owensboro Convention Center on April 12th and 13th. Explore RVs, boats, hunting gear, side-by-sides, and more, all in one place. And best of all, it's free. Don't miss this ultimate outdoor adventure. Learn more at westernkyoutdoorexpo.com or follow us on Facebook. We'll see you there.
And when they're out there checking his alibi, he answers all their questions. He never asked for a lawyer the whole time, and he gives them the DNA, and they rush the test. Not a match.
So I figured, I was like, it's not him.
Right.
I did not think it was him from the jump.
Right. The cops are like, what the fuck? Because they were like, all right, well, he had to hire somebody. Like, he's
Oh my God. These are the cops that are 100% picking who they want it to be, and then chasing them down until they are the person.
I mean, I get that because that's accurate, but like he's the only one who had motive, like
that they know of. They
yeah.
haven't asked anyone. They haven't talked to anyone. They haven't talked to her friends.
Yeah.
They haven't talked to fucking anyone.
Yeah. Well, this is also like 12 hours in, so
I
yeah,
understand,
but
they're like jumping down one person so hard. I get that he had a motive, but it doesn't mean he's the only person with a motive.
Right. Because they're trying to hurry the 48-hour mark since like
I hear ya. I just am like, dude, I didn't think it was him from the jump.
Right. But they couldn't find any evidence of him hiring anybody. They even checked his wife out, thinking, well, maybe she was pissed off and was like, well, I'm not going to lose my husband's naval career because he messed up. So they thought maybe she did it, and there's no connection at all.
She raped him?
That she hired somebody to kill.
Golly.
To kill.
We're just acting like hiring fucking people to kill people is like the easiest thing in the world. I want to attempt it to see how hard it is, but then I don't want to go to jail. Like, I want to see if I could hire someone to kill someone right now in my life. Like, could I figure that out?
Yeah.
You know, I told you I want to stalk somebody and see if I get caught.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I want to see if I can get away with just like
you're pretty sneaky. You
private eye and shit, you know?
Well, we can start our own firm later.
These are just thoughts I have. How hard is this? Is it easy?
Right.
Is it hard? I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I think they were just checking a box. Like, we got to make sure, all right, done, get out of here. Like, I think that all that part was like, well, we got to check. All right, not you, next.
I know, but it's like, if the first thought is, oh, this guy didn't do it, he had to have hired someone. You're saying you hired someone to rape a girl and kill her brutally?
Right.
No.
Or he hired her to kill her, and then the guy went too far.
Dude, when you go...
Yeah.
How do you go too far when you're murdering somebody?
No.
The end game is to kill him.
Well, like
He's like, man, I'm going to go murder this person. Damn, I want to fuck her now. That's not how it works.
I know. I've seen it on some shows on SVU. They show that sometimes. They're like, why did you do that?
Whatever. It's like if you were hiring somebody to kill somebody, it's not to go in and brutally rape and stab them to death. It's to shoot them when they walk out of their house.
Right.
I'm annoyed.
Even though he was still like, so Rob's denying the sexual part of their relationship. And the whole time, yeah. And the Navy's like, no, let's break up. So they gave him what's called an other than honorable discharge from the Navy, and they took his pension away. So,
Ooh.
So at least
he got hit in the dick with money.
Right.
But not with like fucking syphilis.
Right.
That's what he should get hit in the dick with.
And
right?
Right.
Give him a crazy fucking...
the cops are like, fuck, okay, we got to start over. So they go back and they re-examine the crime scene evidence, and they had the killer's blood everywhere.
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 Remind me of somebody else.
Everywhere.
Who do you think I'm thinking about?
And as well as semen, since the poor girl was raped again, like before she was killed. Now, the bloody shoe print that they had found ended up being Air Force One, which from that era, thanks to Nellie, and adults weren't wearing those.
Right.
Things.
That's what, like,
yeah.
You're saying that you are telling me right now that Air Force Ones, which are obviously a teenager, is my assumption, automatically. And the dude over here is like, that looks like the sneaker of that 42, that gym sneaker of that douche canoe with his balding hair and his fucking Hitler stash.
Right.
And you're going to tell me those were the...
I know. Well, I think at his point, I would be like, yes, it's him. Please be him. It's him. Those look like his shoes. I'd be like, yes, it's him. He did it. Like, I'd
want to know who actually did it.
Right.
If somebody murdered my child, I'd want to know who actually did it.
Right. I always said thanks to Nelly because I had Nelly Bill's album. I did love that. That's very 2008. Mm-hmm. Yes. So they start looking younger, and there was a boy in her neighborhood that had those shoes. The kid got them from his two cousins, and they had left town shortly after Meghan was murdered and had outstanding warrants. But none of their DNA matched either. Just coincidence that they had warrants, had the same fucking shoes, lived close. DNA was not them. Like,
heard. And like, were they the same shoe size too? I'm like,
they were the same. They said similar shoe size. Yeah.
Unlucky.
I know. It looks. They were like.
They're lucky it wasn't a fucking different year where they literally were going to pin it on that kid.
Oh, if they didn't have DNA, it was before DNA. They would.
Oh, they would have been. They would have been in jail.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the kid was like, "I just wanted my cousin's shoes. Those shit bags."
I was like, dude, I'm just finances are hard with my my mom's working 2 jobs, man. I had to get a hand me down.
I know.
Back.
And the cops The cops couldn't find one enemy of Meghan. She was nice to everyone, no matter what. Like, she wasn't a Regina George. She was nice to every human. They got creative and even placed a hidden camera at the remembrance tree that a church had put up.
Oof.
And they found no leads there. Like, they put a hidden camera up in the tree by the street.
What were they hoping? That they were going to just see somebody go a lot?
Like, visit
And start,
or
like, touching their pee-pee?
something weird, yeah. And they had a mic and a camera.
That's always what you're looking for. Is just somebody standing there touching their pee-pee. If you ever see that, they're the culprit.
That's right.
Don't be touching that pee-pee
They
in public by the memorial tree.
right. They read through her diary, and it was really upbeat and happy stuff, which seems odd. I was very angsty when I would journal and when I was that age.
Oh, did you have a journal when you were a teenager? Mm-hmm. Do you still have it?
No. God, no.
Man,
I
I did
would
not.
cringe.
I would not.
No.
No.
I would.
I've been journaling for like 10 years.
Right.
Consistently, I'd
Yeah.
say. And I'm cool with that over the last 10
Right.
years. But like high school trauma, fuck that. I need no fucking evidence of that shit.
No. I don't
No.
even like reading my Facebook statuses from back then,
Me either.
let alone.
No.
It's like.
No. Mine's hurtful. Like I started journaling after a divorce. So like automatically there's some like pain.
Right.
But it's not trauma.
Right.
Fuck that.
Yeah, no. So they were coming up short everywhere. She did write a little bit during her little rebellious stage with her parents about a guy named Donald. But
Hold on. Can I ask, did it say anything about her journaling about the abuse?
I couldn't find anything about it.
I was like, they would have I feel like they would have mentioned it unless she like found it on some weird fucking something. I was just curious. I was
Yeah.
like, was there just written evidence?
She didn't write, they didn't mention that it was in there.
I'm curious. Now, okay.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
It's okay.
Just random thought.
So she did journal a little bit when she was rebelling against her parents about a guy named Donald, but her parents were like, no, they didn't like it. She didn't like him. He was a bad influence. Like, clearly she didn't like him, but they didn't like him. He was 18 at the time, and she was already straying from the past. So she was about 16. He was 18. He was currently in jail for driving without a license, so they didn't have to search for him. Donald was already in jail.
We already went by Donald.
Right? 18-year-old Donald.
I'm like, I feel like he'd be a Donnie.
Donnie. Yeah.
Let's go talk to Donnie. You're like, Donald. I'm like, okay, Papa. I got to keep remembering you're talking about an 18-year-old in jail.
I'm surprised he probably was driving without a license because he forgot it because he just got it because he's 18.
Right.
So, okay, so they brought him in for questioning. I watched this one too, and his interview was wild. This was a very interesting, like, watching the interviews after I'm reading about these people because, okay. So he was crying, sobbing, saying Meghan was like, she was my little angel. She was my little angel. I loved her
Was
to
he hood?
death. He
Was he
tried. Donald tried.
Is he white?
Yes.
He's white, white
Yeah.
thug.
Yeah. He's like, I loved her to death. And they were like,
Do you have a photo?
yeah, yes, I do. I'm going to show you a photo right now.
Oh man, I'm dying to see this dude.
I do not have a photo.
Divorce.
I don't have a photo. I thought I did.
Well,
I do not.
what's it like?
That was the
feeling
one I couldn't
useless right
find. He looks like if Eminem had a cousin when Eminem was Eminem. You just threw your earring off.
I did. If Eminem
had a cousin from Virginia that thought he lived with Eminem in Detroit on 8 Mile, that's what Donald would look like.
Got it.
But he still went by Donald. So, and the interview was wild. He's like, I loved her to death. She was my little angel, my little angel.
Oh my God, I hate everything that you're doing.
I know.
The insides are just cringing.
I
I'm just in
know.
a permanent state of cringe.
This whole episode is called like the ick.
Ugh.
So he was telling them that they did date for a little bit behind her parents' back. But then he was like, I would never hurt her. I would never hurt it. Like, it goes on for a long time. And they were like, well, what do you know about the murder when he finally calms down a little? And he was like, well, I know that she was tied up with tape, but that wasn't public information. And they get in his face, like this close to his face on the video. And they're like, how do you know that? How do you know that? And he's like, I heard it at school. Everyone's talking about it. I heard it at school. It's a rumor. I heard it at school. And they're like, And he's yelling at them like, I would never hurt her. And he was saying, sir, and he was being polite, but he was like, sir, I didn't do that. Like, begging them.
Did he not have an attorney?
He gives his DNA. He doesn't fucking match either.
Of course he doesn't.
So he wasn't lying, but everything looked like he was. Like, if I watched it too and was like, how did not
I mean,
match?
a rumor at school.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But
Somebody at school did it and told somebody.
I get that. And I was like, how? But the way he was acting, you would think he was overplaying it. But nope, just something. So the cops are like, all right, we need to take another approach. And the ancestry DNA type was brand new at this time. And to find out who did it. And what they found out was that it was male. That was from 72% sub-Saharan African descent. So it'd be a killer who identifies as black. And all their other suspects thus far had been white. So they were like, all right, here we go again. Let's start all the fuck over again. Meghan took martial arts classes. Like, she's a fucking badass. Like, she took martial arts classes. And the owners of the studio happened to be black. And a few of the instructors were. And they go and they're like, the people were upset. They're like, give us your DNA. None of them matched, of course.
They just walk around and ask for every black person to give their DNA.
She also worked at a teen center because sweet baby angel, Meghan did. And she had a friend there who fits this profile. He didn't want to talk to the cops. And honestly, I don't really blame him.
Right, I don't either.
Like, And because racial
I never want to talk to the fucking cops.
Right. Racial profiling.
Yeah.
No.
I like the cops and I'm a white woman and I still don't want to fuck with the cops.
Right. But it looked bad. Like, they asked him to come in for an interview. He's like, sure thing. And he never showed up because he got nervous and was like, I don't know.
Don't blame him.
Right.
Ain't nobody,
And so they followed him. They swabbed his car handle when he went into the teen center, and his DNA didn't fucking match. So these cops are like, fuck, like they're getting defeated. Like, is it broke? Like, the DNA feels broken. I don't know. So, okay, I have to tell you something funny real quick. The cops went back to Donald. And they were like, dude, you have to know something.
Yeah.
You have to. How do you know this? He was so overwhelmed and they were yelling at him when he was in this little room and he's 18-year-old little Donald. And he goes, I think I'm getting sick. Like, I think I gotta go to the hospital. I think I'm getting sick. I need you to feel my forehead.
Oh my God. He's still just a child.
See the forehead if I'm hot. And then I watched it and the cop goes, I'm not a doctor. I'm not your mama. I'm not feeling your fucking forehead.
They're yelling at this little kid, and he, like, at the end of the day, I'd be like, who told you?
Right? Yeah. And they're
just tell me, who told you that that she was taped up? Like, just say that.
Right.
And follow the fucking rumor mill.
And
I should be a fucking cop.
You should.
I'd fucking nail it.
You would nail it. And then they were like, okay, he asked us to feel his forehead. He didn't do this. Like,
that's why they think he didn't do it.
I just, like, that's when they started backing off, when he was like, what? Okay, so this is September of 2008, and they have nothing. So this has been some months. Angie and Chris hosted a memorial walk for Meghan, her parents. So the detectives went and do like they do, and they wanted to watch everybody. Randomly, Meghan's old bus driver comes up to the detectives, and she's like, hey, you guys need to look at Robert Barnes. He rides my bus, and he and Meghan would flirt back and forth a little bit, and I think you really need to look at this kid. Like, this bus driver, she probably saw and heard everything.
Oh, yeah. Bus drivers be alert.
She even told Robert at one point, like, hey, I know that you need to give up. I don't think she likes you like that. Like, she was up in everybody's shit. So Robert went to another high school and was not on any of their suspect lists. But he and Meghan were in the gifted and talented program for a year at that fancy school. And I'm going to show you a photo of Robert. Okay, that's Robert.
Okay.
Yeah. And
he does not look like a angry guy.
Right.
But I feel like you just showed me either a mugshot or a school photo. So
right.
I can't tell the difference between a mugshot or a school photo.
They do look very similar.
It looks like an office, like you would go on his office badge to get him in the elevator.
It does.
Yeah. And he's a youth.
He is a youth.
He looks like a grown motherfucking man.
He is a 16-year-old African-American junior at the time, and he was apparently an amazing violinist.
Wow.
That's why he was in the program. No criminal record. And Meghan was like, yeah, they're friends. Like, they rode the bus together, and he would walk down and meet her, and they would, a few times a week. But Angie's like, oh, he's harmless. Like, no. They called up Robert, and he was super cooperative. They were like, hey, give us a DNA sample. And he's like, yeah, I need to talk to my mom because 16. He's like,
Yeah.
well, let me call you tomorrow. A few days later, Robert calls and he's like, hey, I have some new information about Meghan. So when he gets there, him and his mom come in and he's like, I do remember Meghan being afraid of someone. Okay, that's not new information. Robert Hickey's face was everywhere. So of course she was afraid of him. Like they were like, okay, cool. And the cop was like, oh, by the way, while you're here, what'd your mom say about that DNA? And he's like, well, I didn't ask her. She was waiting outside. So I didn't ask her, but do you want my chewing gum? That's even better than a swab. So they rushed it to the lab. And that night, the lab tech calls Sergeant McDaniel at 9 p.m. And he's like, hey, who's this DNA that you rushed again?
They don't have the name.
And he's like, Robert Barnes. She goes, oh, well, this DNA is from a woman. So there's no way. And he's like, at first he's super annoyed. Like, don't fucking fuck this up. We've been trying so hard for this.
So he was chewing the gum and took it out of his mouth and gave it to them?
Apparently, when the detective turned his head to grab the latex glove to get the gum, the little shit had somebody else's gum.
His mom's probably.
And gave it to him. Like, you can tell he's 16. They can tell where your ancestry comes from. They're going to be able to
you're
tell.
fucking pregnant. I feel
like, of course, a 16-year-old is going to be like, they won't be able to.
It's the same thing whenever we were all like, whenever you're trying to get people to pee in your like to do piss tests for you and shit, and it was like cold. They're like, you're fucking pissed. That's like young shit.
It's
but
just-
still not dumb.
It's like, this is a Snapple. Like,
I mean, if it would have been smart enough, he would have had like his brother do it. If he had I would have been like, Brittany, put this swab in your mouth. I'm gonna put this in a jar and be like, I swabbed myself.
but they just assumed it came out of his mouth.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. They go to Robert's school the next day on October 23rd, and they were like, hey, can your mom meet us at the station and we can go do an interview? And he's like, sure. So the sergeant goes to put him in the car. The shithead pulled his sleeve down. He wouldn't even touch the car. Like, they noticed it when he went to get in the cop
So
car.
obviously he's the guy.
He's like, and he's just
Why
like,
did he do it?
And they get there, and his mom met him there. And Robert has another story. And I'm going to tell you before I start telling you the story that this story went on for 5 hours. 5 hours of this story.
5 hours of a story.
Yes.
Oh my God, it kind of feels like Travis when he tells me a story. Fuck, that is a long time.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the Sparks notes for this.
Please.
So Robert has this other story. He was like, well, I was supposed to go meet Meghan that day, right? But I knocked on the door and she didn't answer. So I was like, I'll go through this window. Casual.
Okay.
And then he said, quote, when I got up in there, just boom, she was sitting on the bed and a guy was sitting right there. And I don't even know who he was. He said, hold all of your comments because it gets
I'm not gonna
dumber.
say anything.
No, because it gets dumber. Okay. He said a masked man was holding Meghan at gunpoint and then told him to tie her up, and Meghan's begging, don't do it, don't do it. He said the masked man forced him to rape Meghan and then stab her. Are you fucking kidding me? They obviously don't believe him, but they're humoring him
Yeah,
to
of
see how
course,
much,
yeah.
like for 5 hours, because behind
Tell me everything, then we can use all this in court. Tell me everything.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, then what did he look like? How tall was he? Like, they showed it and they were
Yeah.
standing up, like, how did he have you do it? And he's telling them everything, like going into detail. Yeah. And then they were like, well, what about the shoe print? And he was like, oh, that I must have stepped in something when I was going out the front door. So Sergeant McDaniel's like, Robert, everything ties you to this. Nothing ties this to anybody else. And he goes, I know. All right. Then his mama, who has sat there for 5 hours thinking, oh my God, they actually believe this bullshit.
Right.
Like, jumps in and she jumps up and she's like, now hold on for a minute. Is he under arrest? And that's all I want to know. Is he under arrest right now? And the sergeant's like, well, I mean, because they're in the background trying to get a warrant. So they were letting him talk so they could get the paperwork done.
Yeah.
So the his mom's. Mom goes, well, if he's under arrest, I want to know. And then she looks at Robert. She's like, don't you say nothing because, and then
5 hours later, she's like, don't you say anything.
right. When she figures out that they don't believe him.
Stupid. How dumb is she?
I know. And then another detective, he knocks on the door and he enters. He cuts her off. And he looks at her and goes, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. And he says his name. And then he's like, Robert, you're under arrest for the murder of Meghan Landowski. Like that he had to hurry up. And then Robert just goes, okay. The cop turned to his mom and he's like, ma'am, that answers your question. Like, mic drop. Like, on the video, it looks so cool, though.
Well, if she had cared, she should have brought a lawyer in.
Right.
None of that should have been happening.
I know. All of this is like, I was typing.
If my kid was ever brought in for questioning,
Right.
and I do not trust any kids, like, because you don't fucking know.
Right.
You can act like you fucking know.
Right.
I'm sure my parents knew 78% more than I thought they knew. But
Right.
you don't fucking know what's going on.
Impulsive, their decision making, their brains aren't even developed
They're
yet.
lying 24/7.
Right.
If my kid ever, even if Jaden came up to me, who is my stepson, who is 20 years old, almost 21. Where is he?
He's not 21 yet.
Not yet. Well, right. When this comes out.
Yeah.
But I would be like, we should probably just have an attorney.
Yeah. Even if something happened to me right now and they tried to take me in for questioning, I would still get an
I'd be like,
attorney.
dude, I'm getting an attorney.
I'd be like, I have a true crime podcast. And
I'd
I've
be like,
seen
I
so
don't
many-
trust anything you say.
There are innocence projects for a reason. So that I would be the one on the show. They'd be like, well, she lawyered up real quick. Yeah.
They're all. I don't give a fuck if you think that makes me look guilty.
I don't care if I
want an attorney.
Right. Yes. If I got a speeding ticket and they tried to say, like, question me about anything, I'd be like, you need to talk to my lawyer that I don't have, but you need to give me one.
we need to get an attorney.
Right.
FYI, we need to. If you're an attorney,
Right.
hit us up.
We just get a sponsor. So, during this 5-hour story time, Robert had said, I can't even say this without thinking how stupid it is. So this masked man who made him do all this, first of all, he also says, give me your like finger or wrist or something. And he said that the man cut him and made him dump his blood all over the place.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Like, dumb. Okay. And I do want to point out, though, that the arrest initially, outside looking in, did divide Portsmouth, Virginia, because, again, outside looking in, on paper, this kid
looks like a fucking
he looked like he was racially
sweet angel,
profiled. So luckily, though, they had all the DNA, the blood, the semen, everything.
Yeah.
They had it, so people calmed down after they released that to the public. But at first, people were like, "You're profiling, like you just want to close it."
Even though everyone else they questioned was white,
right? And then everybody came back together because then they released what was on his computer. He was super into the dark web, like fantasy world. Apparently, he was obsessed with the fantasy of breaking into women's houses and raping them. They even have evidence that in one of the chat rooms on the dark web that he said he had killed someone. So,
doesn't he realize he can just date somebody and that can be like a kink they share together? I just want everyone to understand. If you have a dark fantasy, maybe you should get into a loving relationship.
Right.
Have a glass of Pinot. Sit down and be like, hey, babe, tell me what's a crazy fantasy of yours.
Consensual.
Once they share it, then you drop the bomb of yours.
Right. You can have consensual conversations about like I always say, there's an ass for every chair.
Right.
Someone's going to sit down. Doesn't have to be you, but you don't got to force someone.
No. And maybe they say no.
Right.
And you're like, you know what? That's fine, Tiffany. This isn't going to work out for me.
I'm going to find another chair.
I need someone who wants me to violently shatter a window, then crawl through it.
Hey.
And have violent lovemaking.
I don't think that if it's that way, it's called lovemaking.
I think for the sake of me explaining it, yes. If it's two consensual adults, we're going to call it lovemaking. I'm just saying that.
I get it.
Breach it to a loved one.
Breach
it to someone who loves you and is close to you and see
Right.
if they want to get freaky deaky like that.
You never know.
Man. Also, what the fuck is his... I'm sorry. Are we not watching our kids' internet use?
2008, man.
That is when I'm thinking it should have been the easiest. Because you just go into your cookies. You just literally go www. And it's like breaking and entering ass play. Like you were getting a ton of fucking Pornhub viruses. Like, if anything, that would have been a way easier time.
B&E ass play.
I'm just saying.
Is that came really quick to the top of your head?
I drank good tea today. I don't fucking know. But I'm just like,
No, I get it.
maybe we should be perusing what our kids are looking at.
Right. We're such good parents.
Right.
We're like, where are the parents?
Where are the parents?
Where are the
to
parents?
non-parents?
Right.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to preach it when you don't have to do it yourself.
Girl. Okay. Get what else they found in his boudoir. They found a newspaper article of a senior citizen who was raped and robbed. And this fucker, Rob Barnes, 16 years old, photoshopped his photo onto the guy's mugshot who did this.
That's weird.
I know.
That's very weird.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I was like, at 16, no. Okay, anytime, no.
anytime,
but
no.
like,
But that's a very
especially
informative year.
This is very, I'm thankful that he got arrested because this
too.
is very Ted Bundy. He was not going to stop. He started at a very young age, very blend into society. Like,
Just him being a violinist makes me think that he's like subdued and chill.
yeah, he was 17 at the time, but like he was on track to go to Juilliard. Like he was super talented. So everyone was like, no, he didn't do it. Meghan's sweet baby angel parents agreed to offer a plea deal that he could be tried as a juvenile because he was 17 at the time that he killed her. They had been through enough and they were like, we don't want to see it. They didn't ever go back into the house after he walked in and found her. They moved. They didn't even go in. They couldn't. It was that big of a devastation to their family.
I bet. Oh my gosh, I can only fucking imagine.
Right?
Oh man, no.
Yeah. So
no.
they were like, we're grieving. We're not ripping that. We don't want to do it. So they were like, try him as a juvenile. Like, go ahead. And so on February 18th, 2010, Robert Lee Barnes pled guilty to first-degree murder, attempted rape, aggravated sexual battery, abduction, and statutory rape. He will be eligible for parole after serving a minimum of 42 years, and that'll be in the year 2045, and he will be 53.
Wow. At least he got
for a juvenile.
Real time.
Normally, it's not that long. Like, I've heard of adults getting like 20 years.
I've seen him get fucking 8.
Right?
For same shit, different fucking story.
I know. This is the sad story of the murder of Meghan Landowski by the killer violinist and one of the least likely suspects I think I've ever read about in a very long time.
Yeah.
Was Robert Lee Barnes.
That is wild.
So many swings and misses, but they did it it was probably like a 5-month period. Like they did it as fast.
Well, thank goodness for that bus driver.
Right. Nosy
He would have gotten away with it.
Randomly.
Well, he probably would have gotten away with it
Until he
did it again.
Right.
Obviously, it sounds like he would have done it again.
Yeah. Poor Meg. She didn't.
It's terrible.
It's very sad. But like the Dateline goes into, it's like an hour and a half long, but like they show the interviews, they do the like, and it's wild to see how normal he sounded when he was talking to them, even when he was telling the story of the fake guy on the bed. Like it was just like me talking to you. Well, then I went up there and she was like begging me, don't tie me up. Don't tie me up.
He had enough time to come up with a story. I could sit here and lie to you rather beautifully and tell you a story that was completely fictitious. And if my life was on the line, I could do it even better.
Prove it. Do it right now. Talking a big talk.
I'm not going to do it at the very end of an hour-long episode. No, but
no, I get it.
I mean, I'm sure he could have. He had 5 months to think about it too. If not, who knows how long he was planning it.
Right. Fuck.
I'm happy they got him too, but it's so sad for her.
I know. Well, that's
thanks for that story. That was a wild one.
Yeah.
That was a great celebratory happy birthday Jess story.
Right. Yeah. I felt like Megan's story needed to be told because she sounded like a badass.
Yeah.
That's how she young age. So.
Something about ballerinas just make me feel like they're better than everyone else. I have a concept. I did ballet as a child.
You did?
I did not like it. I remember not really liking it. That was my parents had us be in ballet. But I always just feel like they're better. They're more spectacular. I don't know why. Because I do know why. It's because you have to keep your body a specific way.
Right.
Like, go them.
Right. I could never do it. And then she was good at all her dances. Like she did a million different things, but ballet was what she loved to do.
Aww.
I know. Any hooser.
Poor Meghan.
I know.
Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for
your time. Don't forget, like, rate, review, subscribe.
Yes.
All that
Patreon
jazz.
us.
Please Patreon us. We got so much good
On
fucking
the
content.
On the TikTok.
It's just sitting over there, fucking ready to be shared with you.
You sound like Donald.
It's gonna be great.
My angel. She was my angel.
Okay. Right. Don't forget. Don't get mad.
Get sassy.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
This episode was sponsored, edited, and produced by Wonderboy Media. Get the deets at WBOYmedia.com to see how you can make your podcast dreams a reality.
Help us out and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our audio project. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at, of course, A Couple of Sassholes.
Want more sass? Become a member of our Patreon for bonus content, merch, and more. Plus, we're on Cameo now, so there's even more ways to get the sass you need just how you like it. As always, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
Theodore, can I pet that dog?